Alright, what is here yet? Oh. Alright, welcome for everyone who's here. Oh, I gotta grab all the other links. Alrighty. Yeah, get started. There's not a huge amount of stuff today. A little bit more of the Fauci stuff. Quick rundown to possibly what's going on this weekend. A little bit of the future stuff, but nice easy day. Don't think there'll be a lot. It'll be a more relaxed stream. I mean, the last one was relaxed, but that was because there was just less. Just because there's so much information. Holy shit, so much stuff. But yeah, as people come in, my name's David. This is Fresh Faces New Ideas. You can follow me here. You can follow me on YouTube at Fresh Faces New Ideas. And you can follow me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. You can also join the Discord so we can talk offline. And then we can have other conversations. People can tell us about things that are bothering them, other topics. You can be pulled into a chat if somebody wants to have a conversation about, my thoughts on policy, or about just a policy in general, or about just, stuff. It's all good. Every day growing a little by little. But, slowly but surely we'll get there. It's just, bigger. The more people we have here, the more active we get, the better I get at this. And now's a good time to get in because I'm tiny and I have no problem talking. I'll talk to anybody. So if you hop into the chat now, or you hop into the Discord and you have a question, I'll have a conversation. More or less. I mean, it obviously depends on what we're covering at that moment. Like yesterday, we weren't going to talk about Flat Earth because we were discussing the Fauci emails or this and that. Like, there's always stuff we're going to. It depends, but I'm never going to say, I'm not going to have a conversation about something. Usually, maybe I won't have a conversation. Yeah, you know what? That's true. Oh, I'm not going to have a conversation about Flat Earth. That one's just not going to happen. Happy Friday. Hope everyone's having a good one. Hope people are joining the chat, have a good time, ready for a relaxing weekend. It'll be a good one. Well, so I'll just go over what we're planning. So I haven't finished the Fauci emails. I still have about 2,300 pages left, so I got about 1,000 done. There's a couple of them that I have seen that I wanted to bring up. Then I want to go over, yes, the Nets are playing tomorrow. I'll talk about that in a second. Then there's the Breitbart article that I want to talk about. There's also the breaking news about Donald Trump being only suspended for Facebook for the next 2 years, dependent on, if they deem him still a threat to democracy, or if he's likely to cause people to riot again. So there'll be things like that. And then Kirsten Sinema had an interview with John Cornyn. Well, she was with John Cornyn. I don't even know who interviewed her. They were just people talking about. I don't know what she was doing about the filibuster, and she's just wrong on that. And then we have Don McGahn is going to be yes, Facebook is so I'll probably cover this more Monday, or it's possible that it'll be covered Sunday. So as of right now, I think I'm going to be doing the panel, the semi-open panel for the Hippy Dippy pod for the Hippy Dippy Sunday at 1 p.m. I'm still waiting for confirmation on that, and then there's some other stuff that I'm going to be doing. I know the NBA one that I was going to do Tuesday, I think got pushed back to Wednesday. But I think that one's going to be like super late. But once I have a confirmation on that, I'll let people know. And then I think there'll be one more panel that we'll be doing as well next week. So I think next week's going to be a big one. But the other news is Trump has he's speaking at the governor's event this weekend. So this will be his first big rally since he's no longer president. So it'll be interesting to see what type of crazy stuff he says there. So we'll be covering that, and then next weekend is the MAGA Frank event, and we'll definitely be covering that. So yeah, today is not going to be like super heavy with a lot of stuff. I mean, there'll be stuff in it. We gotta go over these emails, and I'll probably end up finishing them over time by myself because it's a lot. And when I say it's a lot, it's not that it's a lot because it's, oh my god, these emails are so incriminating. This man gets a fuck ton of emails, and a lot of them the things that we don't see and we learn from these emails is just the background stuff, and then following the information. So with the Diamond Princess of tracking who is sick, what the type of spread is, how they're going to project things into the future. That was 30 pages of that. That was infinitely fascinating. Just to watch them try to work through it. There's some interesting stuff going on here. There's obviously a ton of people in these emails who are just saying, Dr. Fauci, hang in there. Thank you for your work. There's a couple of people who are trying to sell him on different drugs that might work, or different technologies, or they're offering advice. And I mean, obviously he doesn't respond to everybody because he gets so swamped. There's a whole lot of people offering from interviews. There's a lot there. So we're gonna go over just a brief summary of what's going on there with the emails, and then we'll go do the cinema thing. And then we'll talk about the hearing, and then I guess we'll finish up with Trump, and then it's open chat time, unless some crazy thing happens and I get stunlocked by a crazy amount of questions or some statement. But that's the plan today. And then whenever I finish the Fauci emails in total, I'll talk about them. But it's clear, the thing about the Fauci emails is when people are claiming mostly politicians, people like Josh Hawley and Lauren Boebert and McCarthy and Green, they're claiming these Fauci emails are a smoking gun. They're not pointing to specific points, and I think that's telling that they're not the smoking gun that they're claiming they are, because the points that they've pointed to, the ones I debunked yesterday, and there's another one I'm going to debunk today, are not really smoking guns if you understand both timing and reading comprehension. Like we've said, the Fauci emails, the first one that they claimed was the mass one. Obviously, this was consistent with what he was saying at the time, which was in February, is what we knew. We also know that around this time is when Trump was talking about Woodward and said, "Oh yeah, this virus is way deadlier than we're letting on." Obviously, I'm going to downplay it and not tell people how scary it is because I don't want to panic. Then the other one is, Fauci knew so early that this virus was engineered but the word, first off, the email says it's like that 0.1%, less than 0.1% is possibly manufactured, and it's possible that it's been dealt with. So obviously that means that Fauci knows that it was created as a super weapon designed to kill Americans. Like, come on. Also, like, the other thing is, if even the conservative response to this doesn't make any sense, because Fauci is an advisor for this. Like the Trump administration would still dictate what policy was. And Trump openly would say, I did the opposite of what Fauci told me to. So if Fauci is responsible for all the deaths because the policies that he attempted to do, Trump actively went against, what actual impact does he have then? Like, the more you think about the response to this, the less their actual response to it makes no sense. Like, how can you blame somebody for being totally responsible for something when he's not the one in charge? Trump is. And then he went out of his way to say, I'm not listening to him. And then somehow it's all his fault? Because there's actually there's a Trump set of emails that we're gonna, because some of them mention some of the Trump, because obviously he's talking with Robert Redfield, who is the head of he was CDC, I think he was, and he's talking to Alexander Azar, who was the COVID czar, and then there's emails talking about the Mike Pence was put in charge of this stuff. So there's like information of him talking to like people in the administration. So like, first off, there's nothing in these emails that is a direct smoking gun to Fauci saying, oh yes, this is obviously from China, but we're not going to tell the American people that because I want to keep taking power. Because here's the other thing. This narrative that Dr. Fauci was like a power-hungry, limelight-seeking person is just counterproductive because the man's been in government for like 40 fucking years, and I've unless you were like old enough to be paying attention during Ebola like 10 years ago, nobody ever fucking heard of this guy. Like, and even in the stuff, like, it's not clear that he's happy with all the attention he's getting. He's just like, the only perk he was like really happy about was when he went to the baseball game. I mean, this is a little old man who just wants to do science, and then like, stood out for, trying to help people. But look, obviously there appears to be short-sightedness in this about whether or not they what they knew when they knew it about the lab leak stuff. Like there's some information that needs to be covered with this. But this idea that he like deserves to go to prison for what's in these emails is just a total it's just a total inaccurate understanding of what's in them, and it's not the ability to understand what's like in reality. Like there's no like, it's just a different world that you have to live in, and just a lack of context and critical thinking, or even just not even critical thinking, just thinking about how things come together to understand. Like, it's the same thing as when they're still arguing, oh, schools are still closed, but the border is open. Like, they're just talking points. And also, this always comes down to, like, they're like, oh, the mask mandates didn't work, the lockdowns didn't work, but they did. Like, we have evidence that proves that they did. And this idea that, like, the Biden administration is for forever lockdowns and mask mandates. First off, once again, and this will be my response every single time I hear somebody complain about a mask mandate. You're a goddamn fucking baby if wearing a mask is too much for you. Do you also walk around do you also complain about wearing shirts and shoes into stores? Now, caveat to this, I actually did know somebody. When I was in college, there was this kid who was known as the shoeless kid because he just would not wear shoes, and he had to, even when he would go to like the mess halls and stuff, the common rooms to eat, he had to wear like shoes in that because he wasn't allowed like in without wearing them. So it's not like this is a crazy thing. You don't see like nudists complaining that they're being, segregated because they're not allowed in the places. Although I don't even know how many nudist colonies still really exist. So like this idea that it's forever lockdowns and mask mandates, like the lockdowns are pretty much all done. Like everything that was used as a complaint to like try to attack Democrats is either ending or just not accurate. Like this is, look, there are actual issues with what happened here. It does appear what aren't state mandated. The lockdowns? It does appear that there's evidence to gain of function. I haven't really found it in these emails, so I have to go searching for it, and I'm very afraid of the rabbit hole that I'm going to end up looking at for this. But yeah, look, this isn't a treasure trove of like, okay, but how is it an overreach of power that they tell you to put a mask on? Especially now, the other ones that at this point the complaint now is that they're medically segregating people because they have to take the vaccine to enter areas. That's not state mandated either. Those are private businesses doing it. So it's the same argument. And the reason it has to be state mandated is because if you just require people to do it, we've shown that they won't do the right thing. And in times of a health crisis, the government should be able to overstep on some liberties. But being told to put on a fucking mask is not an impact on your liberties. If there was acid rain running out and the government mandated you wearing an umbrella, is that going to overstep on your ability to get melted? This is not like, you have to be on such like a misunderstanding of what liberties are to think that these are just overreach of your liberties, and this is like the totalitarian takeover of the country because somebody said to put on a mask. And God forbid, maybe you had to wear two. I personally didn't wear two because I didn't go out all that often. And by the time, they were saying to, I was pretty close to getting my shots anyway. So I didn't end up wearing two because I was never really in crowds where I believe. But I always wear a mask. I still wear a mask. I'm vaccinated. I still wear a mask when I go out. It just makes me feel more comfortable. And you know what the crazy thing is? Do you know how many people it hurts that I wear a mask? Fucking zero. That's how many people it hurts. It is such a baby response to a pandemic to say that your liberties are at stake or whatever, or this is too cumbersome. Like, get over it. So, I'm going to do the Trump ones last because I'm going to apply conservative. Hold on, let me pull the chat up on my phone so then that way I can see it done. All right, so I have the chat up here. Because I'm going to apply the Republican logic to the Trump quotes. So we're on 27. Well, that's not right. 27, 23. Okay, so there are people saying, "Oh, we just bent over to the WHO." This is Richard Allen Johnson talking to Fauci about the face of the WHO. I'm very distressed by the face of the WHO. Their public face, their news updates are the quality of those of a third world country. I only hope that they function better than their news updates suggest. They need a world-class public relations firm. I'm deeply concerned in COVID-19 in India and Africa. News reports do not mention anything this pandemic waiting to happen. So this is in February 14th. And he says, he said, "I certainly appreciate your concerns about the WHO." So they were aware of these things, that these might be something that they have to look into. This is not like a totally new thought for them. All right. So then this one is 2708. Now this is not directly related to like a big undercover thing. This is mostly a fuck you to Laura Ingraham, because I don't remember if you guys are here or saw the stream I did I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where I was covering her video about the climate lockdowns, because that's the new conservative talking point, is that the COVID lockdowns are going to lead to the climate lockdowns because climate change isn't really a threat, and they're going to try to pretend that it's an emergency, even though some states have declared it an emergency, and the military believes it's the number one threat, global threat to our armed forces. So other than that, it is still not a threat. So the reason this is a fuck you to Laura Ingraham, because during her thing, she made fun of Sanjay Gupta, the CNN doctor, when he was doing a cleaning. He was showing people how to clean their supplies, because if you remember, early on in this pandemic, there was the fear that we didn't know what surfaces it lived on, and she was mocking people for this. And, I'm old enough to remember, and I imagine most of you are, because you're not literally a baby, that there was actually a fear about this. And you had to, you were afraid that when you go to the grocery store to buy all your stuff, you had to then wipe everything down because you didn't know what could have COVID. So this is something he got here. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm hoping you can direct me to anyone at NIAID or CDC who is working on the survival of COVID-19 on surfaces. This would include shipping boxes, but also various products and other perishable items. The food safety people here at the FDA are quite concerned about the latter, given published reports of different coronavirus survival on various surfaces. So this is something they're actually worried about, and they were looking into. And now Laura Ingraham is playing this off as a joke, because they don't care about you. And they don't care about what your fears were. Let's see. We're going to come back to the Trump one, so we're going to skip over that to go ahead. This is 2657. Now this is part of it, that some of these were just formatted weird. This right here is somebody talking about the concern about the healthcare. There's actually a whole bunch of these where they're trying to break down how we best deal with like healthcare. How do we section people off? Who has actual the healthcare? Do we do it from home? So for those of you who missed in the beginning, there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here about like how the scientists looked at this type of thing and were like, okay, well, how do we plan for this contingency or that contingency? How do we make sure that the most people are isolated? Who's most likely to be protected from this? Who's most likely to have the ability to see different things? Like who's going to prepare all their information and be ready for that? So we have that. And then we have 65. So this is more of that. This is going the wrong way. So this is basically them talking about what I was just saying. Different ways to do it, and then the other stuff is redacted. And then it's also talking about the supply lines. Right? Strategic prioritization of limited resources is extremely important. We must do it now because the supply chain is already being affected and can only go worse. This is how we ended up with people who, we were short on ventilators. We were short on PPE. We were short on, just different items. And this is why, Fauci originally said, don't wear a mask, because we were saving it. So there's a lot to unpack in this. But now we're going to read some internal stuff from the president's team. I think it was internal. Let me Take a look at this. 2692. I'm working on a story about the coronavirus response, aiming to publish tomorrow. The story is about how President Trump has praised China and President Xi, but has made some of his advisors uncomfortable given the lack of transparency from China and the inability to get CDC scientists in the country. We also have some details about the response and the task force and some disagreements that have arisen. I've listed the points we have in the story that pertain to HHS. Would you be able to take a look? Let me know if there's any issues and potentially provide a comment. Include some of the quotes from Secretary Azar's interview on CNN and CNBC, but also happy to get a quote. So, this is a reporter asking from him. Now, let's remember what time this is. This is in February. Now, according to Republicans, based on the things that they've said about what's in this, the public statements that he has made since then are both consistent with most of what's in here, or they're trying to misconstrue what he said about masks. But if you at some point kind of sort of maybe change your mind, you're considered a flip-flopper, and therefore everything you say is wrong. It doesn't matter if there's actual new data. So, based on that, because they're misunderstanding of how facts work, Fauci is wrong about everything, and therefore he is solely responsible for everything. Except, let's look at this. This is from a press release. President Trump has lavished praise on China and its ruler Xi Jinping for its handling of the growing coronavirus outbreak, a posture some in his administration are growing increasingly uncomfortable with as his advisors remain concerned about China's transparency and handling the pandemic. Well, that sounds like Trump is being nice to China. Why is he being nice to China? Well, obviously, if we follow the logic that is being applied to Fauci, Donald Trump works for China, is solely responsible for the coronavirus outbreak. Like, Trump praises toward Xi have irksome advisors who say the comments and others about how the virus will likely behave reflect how the president is being briefed, underscore tensions within the administration over its handling of the outbreak, and message should be sent to the American public. Worries about the market and tenuous negotiations with China over a trade deal have played a large role in Trump's friendly posture. So, Trump was not pushing China very hard because of trade negotiations. See, if Biden was doing that, he would be a weak person, right? Look, I want to be clear. Clearly, that the things that I'm saying about this are obviously insane. But much like a lot of the response to Fauci. It is just not accurate. It is just not... It is just misunderstanding a lot of this. Now, some of the other things in this that should be worried people. In an effort to keep Trump calm and restrained, Azar has been briefing the president that everything is under control, totally under control, which has kept Trump from doing or saying anything drastic. Now, this is reports that we knew because we've known Trump for 3 or 4 years at this time. This is not how you should be talking about a president in the face of a crisis. This is how you talk about dealing with a toddler at any point. Some officials have complained that Trump comments emanated from his briefings with Azar, who they say has sought to control the response. He has told other doctors, including Fauci, not to go too far into the details of the virus and outbreak with Trump. Instead, Azar has instructed doctors to let him handle it. Where's the other thing? There's something about his... Oh, yeah. Trump has told advisors he does not want the administration to do or say anything that would further spook the markets, but remains worried that any large-scale outbreak in the U.S. would hurt his re-election bid. Now, this last sentence is true. Donald Trump lost this election. He lost this election, not because of massive voter fraud or any of these other crazy conspiracy theories. Donald Trump lost this election because of how he fucked up COVID. This, for any other president, any of this information would have been at least some of this. Look, this is him obviously doing this. These two, the ones where he's the trade deal. This is obviously these are obviously connected, and they could be defensible if we lived in a reality world. Nothing else here is what this should be all you need to know to keep Donald Trump from anywhere near to having any more power than deciding what's for his own what he gets to wear and has any control over, and what he eats. The fact that the president of the United States has to be kept calm and restrained so he doesn't do anything drastic in the middle of a pandemic. Well, obviously it's not a pandemic, but something that is projected to become a pandemic should have been it. I don't know about you, but I shouldn't have to worry that the president is being kept calm and restrained when it comes to facing a crisis. Let's put this in the way conservatives do. If Donald Trump can't handle being told bad news, how is he going to stand up to Vladimir Putin? Well, we saw that. He didn't. How is he going to stand up to China? We saw that. He didn't. He didn't stand up to anybody. Well, that's not entirely true. He talked a lot of shit to our allies. But look, I can't. This is honestly more damning of Trump than most of the stuff that they're complaining about for Fauci. Now, let's talk about this. This was sent to me by one of my people. I want to say one of my people. One of the somebody who's listening. He sent me this particular article, and this is the other thing that I was talking about. I have not seen, and granted, I'm only about a third of the way through. I have not seen this this quote unquote formula for the creation of COVID. This chemical formula, and I've asked. So, if you are watching this and you have, I'm not shouting at you, Riller. I'm a little loud though. Because I'm gonna be honest. Not being able to think drives me crazy. Just cognitive awareness. It's like basic knowledge is very frustrating. Just lacking that. But if you have this smoking gun that the COVID thing, send it to me. I haven't found it yet in the emails, but I would be interested to look at it. Now, before we look at this article, it is worth noting who the source is. Breitbart. This is like the evilest far right. I mean, they're the most respected far right newspaper. You know, they're not the Daily Stormer or whatever the other Nazi websites are, but this is pretty much very close to it. So Anthony Fauci ignores email from physicists claiming hydrochloroquine could help battle coronavirus. Now, this goes into talk about it. We're going to look at this person. I don't even know who this is. But it's he's the one attached to this. So we're going to look at this. So I want to be clear about this. In an email, physicist Eric Nelson sent to Fauci in March 2020, he recommended not one but two drugs that could help battle COVID. One of the drugs was hydrochloroquine. Donald Trump was dragged when he recommended the same drug. Fauci allowed this to happen. Actually, you know what? We're going to take a look at what's going on in this hashtag. So, effective treatment for late-stage COVID pits. We're approaching death have fully recovered with treatments with clindamycin. Other drugs I have and told my family about and some friends called hydroxychloroquine. Now, the reason Trump was dragged for hydroxychloroquine is because when they started testing it on people, it started to fucking kill them. It caused blood clots. And then, when this data, when his CDC said, don't use this, he kept saying to use it. We got that one doctor who I think he was Haitian, who was saying that demon sperm causes crazy stuff that alien demon sperm possession, like all the crazy things. Like they were touting her. The reason Trump was dragged for hydroxychloroquine was not because Fauci said, oh no, this works, so we're not going to tell the people. It's because when it was tested by multiple different groups, testing to see whether it worked or not, they found it didn't. They found the penalties, the potential risk of using it outweighs the use for it. So this is not a smoking gun that, Trump was right about hydroxychloroquine. Because guess what? He's still wrong. He's still wrong. And the other thing they're arguing about is that Fauci said, somebody else get back to him. Let's see if they have his response to it. Too long for me to read. Now, I've not gotten to March, but I've seen his response to this type of stuff for a couple of these emails. There's a bunch of people who send him these like long worded stuff where he just like shifts it to his secretary. This is not him ignoring this information. A lot of it is sent to different. Look, it's not even to the same guy. It's to somebody else. It's to someone in NIH. So he's not. Why am I still? Because I'm currently going through and debunking all the other stuff. Oh, and there's one more Trump story we're going to talk about. But it's not really important. It's just kind of funny. So once again, it is important that when you wait till this weekend. We're gonna cover Trump speeches because they're funny, and then we're gonna cover the MAGA Frank rally next week. It's important to know what they're talking about here. Like when they say things, you have to understand the context of this. This is why I both started reading and read the emails on stream, because it's worth noting that the things that are going to be picked apart to use as talking points are more or less crazy talk. There's either lack of reading comprehension covers all of them. A not understanding about time and a lack of reading comprehension. This is not a smoking gun. The mass one is not a smoking gun. This could have been made in a lab email they were touting is not a smoking gun. What they are is they show you have an IQ of about 15. Let's see if there's anything relevant here. Steve Crowder is doing. Okay. So, here's a quick Trump story, Trump update. I wonder if there's more news. Trump and from Facebook. Because what I was about to start this. Okay. Here's the something other, because the Washington Post broke this story. So Facebook on Friday announced that it may allow for President Trump on Facebook and Instagram to be reinstated by January 2023. The social media company will reevaluate whether the risk to public safety of allowing Trump back onto its servers has receded. Now, two things here. Part of the problem is we are realizing now that even though Trump has basically no ability to communicate with people outside of basically calling into Fox because he's decided that he wanted to shut down his own website, his movement hasn't gotten weaker because the ideas are metastasized. They're not just him. Yes. But the more important thing is this, is that they are actually going to be more transparent about this. I think this is today. I want to see. There's one of these stories talking about this. Does this have the information about the oversight? Facebook also announced it will revoke its policy of treating speech by politicians as inherently newsworthy and exempt from enforcement of its content rules that ban, among other things, hate speech. The decision marks a major reversal. So this is more important than Trump coming back. The idea that all political speech is just treated as newsworthy or doesn't fall under hate speech is a problem that Republicans are going to complain about because they generally make up more news and then they are, more likely to invoke hate speech. Now we can quibble about what's hate speech, but when you're outright saying that a certain group of people are just inherently evil or dirty or purposely sending rapists and stuff like Trump was, that's how what your hate speech is. So the other thing for this is Don McGahn is to testify. This is ridiculous. Nobody gives a shit about this anymore. And this is why it's more insane that the Republicans voted against the January 6th Commission. The January 6th Commission, even if it did subpoena people, all these people would have to do is the same thing that happened under the Trump administration. Say, no, fuck you. I'm not going to respond to your subpoenas. And then they would have to go to court about them because they're not going to actually fucking arrest these people. So what is Don McGahn testifying about? Well, Don McGahn, about questioned by House Judiciary Committee Democrats about the investigation into Russia's interference in the 2016 election and whether then President Trump tried to head it off. Few explosive or timely new revelations are expected, but McGahn's appearance does mark the end of a 2-year legal standoff over whether an executive official can be forced to testify for Congress, even if his appearance does not provide either side with a clear-cut legal victory. So, what does that mean? Doesn't mean fuck all. No, I'm not happy to live in a one-party state. We don't technically live in a one-party state. We used to. We used to basically have Republicans and moderate Republicans. Unfortunately, the Republican Party has metastasized into a loony bin party where they don't actually stand for anything. It's just grievances. They don't have any policies on how to make the country better. They're not actually running on a platform. No, it's not unfortunate. The unfortunate thing is that the country that one party leaned further right than it did lean back to the left. So the response can't be that the Democratic Party becomes what the Republican Party used to be. The response has to be the Democratic Party becomes further left, and that the moderate Democrats, we're not living in a politically correct left-wing one-party nation. That is a massive understatement, and I'm going to tell you why in the next segment. But look, we are not in a one-party system. Well, we are. It is the corporate party. They're in control. But the response should have been for the country to move further to the left in response to what happened with Trump, and that for people like Joe Manchin to be Republicans like they actually are. That should who should be the Republican. People like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Kristen Sinema is basically a Republican now. This is not a left-wing political correct party. The only people who think we live in a left-wing one-party political correct party are people who watch OAN or Newsmax or Fox News and are smooth-brained. There is nobody who knows what's going on with what's actually going on through legislation and is like, oh yeah, we're actually in a left-wing utopia. Like, get the fuck out of here. Joe Biden is like an inch to the left of center. This is not a accurate representation of the people. We just don't live in a there's no you can't look at this what's going on and say we live in a left-wing politically correct nation. The people who complain about, first off, the people who the people who complain about the spread of vote, you can talk to them for a little. I'll get back to that point, because this always comes back to the tolerance paradox of, what is acceptable speech. And this was something I was talking to right. There's no right. Also, that's the other thing. So MPB is right. How will you, in a one-party state, when we have minority rule in the Senate, and the party that has not won the popular mandate of the people in almost 2 decades is able to solidify their power by changing who's allowed to vote, and just steamrolling over the and the minority party also has control of all the courts. Well, you don't ban one. One side is not being banned. They just bitch louder. The Republicans are not banned. My favorite thing is Josh Hawley bitched about his... First off, let's talk about cancel culture very quickly. According to Josh Hawley and Republicans, he was canceled because they decided not to publish his book. Well, Dr. Fauci has been canceled too. Right. The Dems need the Republicans because then that way they can have somebody who will be louder and push back. Right. Well, because that's what they are. They're pushing. They are Republican light, and if you have somebody else who is stronger, then you can be forgiven for not actually doing the things that your people want because the Republicans don't want us to do the thing. It is incredibly frustrating. So, as we currently stand now, there's about 2 senators who are actively stopping the entirety of Joe Biden's presidency. And those people are Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Now, the reason they are doing this is because nobody is banned. Trump is banned from speaking on public platforms that are privately owned. He could speak to. He's going to have a rally tomorrow. He's not banned from anything. He can still run. He can still run for office even if he's indicted. Then nobody has been banned. Trump is still incredibly popular, and it would be interesting to see what the media reaction to him should he actually declare. We're gonna get a test of that this weekend when he talks. And yes, obviously I'm going to give him oxygen by talking. But you know what? I'm not going to give him oxygen by sitting there and going, "Oh, everything this man is saying is correct." It's going to be a pushback on him. So, why does it look like there's no way to move anything in Congress? Well, it's because of people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Now, Kyrsten Sinema, who missed the vote, she was one of 11 senators who missed the vote on the bipartisan commission for the creation of a committee into the January 6th. Yeah, except Trump had all the media last time. He had the bully pulpit, and he still lost. He's the only one who isn't able to access the media in the way of like Twitter and Facebook and things. He's, this is not even like close to a debate. He didn't lose because of that. He lost because he oversaw 400,000 people dying. That's what led to his loss. The fact that he was the president and hundreds of thousands of people died. No, if it's not close, first off, it was absolutely close, and that is a indictment on the Democratic Party for how close it was. It will not be close. There's a good chance that just based on history, that the Democrats will get walloped in 22. There's an even better chance that they will get walloped because they're not going to do anything about the rampant voter suppression that is going to happen and the gerrymandering that's about to happen in these states. Let's be clear about some of the things that the Republicans are they're against. This is a very simple calculus. Should more or less people vote in a democracy? One side is saying less people should vote. They're saying it will hurt us less. So the Democrats, if you look at the Democrats who lost, especially if your argument is, Medicare for all and defund the police are not popular. The Democrats who ran on Medicare for all and defund the police all won. The only one who lost only ran on Medicare for all. The polling says that the Democratic ideas are popular. The problem is we have to have better messaging for it. The further right Democrats pretty much all lost, with the exception of like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Although I think Kyrsten Sinema ran as a progressive, and she just turned into a Republican. Like, I don't even understand it. So look, we're gonna watch this video. Okay, so the other thing that the economy was not good. There was a lot of okay looking numbers that if you dug into was not good, and that's part of why the economy crashed so hard and why we're having a bit of a hard time to come back. So, Kyrsten Sinema is with John Cornyn. John Cornyn voted against the bipartisan commission. Now, John Cornyn also was one of the people who said that Trump should not be impeached. He's the Texas senator, yes. John Cornyn also said that Trump should not be impeached, but there should be a bipartisan commission for investigating what happened on January 6th. Now, what was the train of thought? So, the bipartisan commission, unlike if you happen to see one of the other hippy-dippy debates where the people were arguing about it, whether it's a bad thing, it's not that this was it's not that he was for it. So let's talk about the commission, because I've talked about this a couple times, but it appears that my audience has grown a little, so I haven't gotten a chance to discuss it with most of you. The bipartisan commission was bipartisan. It was so this commission is split. Is split 10 people, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats. The Republican minority leader and in the Senate picked the vice chair, and the majority leaders picked the actual chair. The committee cannot reach for a subpoena unless there's a majority or the chair and the vice chair agree on it. And as we just saw with Don McGahn, even if you get a subpoena from these committees, you could just say fuck you and go to court about it. And then tie it up and it won't matter. So the other thing that's always worth mentioning is this bill was every single thing that John Katko wanted was in this bill. Everything the Republicans asked for, every single thing they got. Every single thing. And then when they realized, oh shit, this might actually happen, Kevin McCarthy got on the bus and ran John Katko right the fuck over. And then we got to the Senate when it passed the House, and then we got to the Senate. The Senate the Senate decided that we're not going to allow this to happen. So 35 senators blocked 54 senators. The 54 senators represent something like 87 million more Americans. So this idea that there's a majority rule here is just absurd. The minority is, it is minority rule in the Senate because of the filibuster. Now, I've gone over the filibuster a lot. And it's worth mentioning that the filibuster, over and over again, is not in the Constitution, and it was used almost exclusively to block civil rights. From 1920 on, and then to the modern day in 2010, it was used that. Now remember, during the last two Democratic administrations, the Obama administration and the Biden administration, Mitch McConnell has had the same stance. Fuck you, I'm not going to help you with anything. We have plenty of examples in this administration that the Republicans will not do bipartisanship at all. And we know this because we saw what happened during the American Rescue Plan. Overwhelmingly popular among the people, and then Joe Manchin made it worse in order to accommodate Republican ideals, and they got 0 Republicans for it. 0 Republicans voted for it. Then Joe Manchin said, okay, well, we passed the Asian hate crime bill, and that's a proof of bipartisanship. Listen, the fact that you passed the Asian hate crime bill, which was as no-brainer a bill as you possibly could, that just means that hold on, I'm sorry. I'm going to close the chat. You guys are talking to each other. I'll get back to you in a minute. The Asian hate crime bill, the only reason Josh Hawley went against it is because Josh Hawley is a jackass. And the only reason he was the only one who voted against it was because Rand Paul and Ted Cruz weren't there. Hold on. I'm gonna close this real quick. I gotta respond to that. That's just me trying to get more stuff. So, look, the whole thing that we need to focus on now is the removing the filibuster. Whether it's segmented so you have more things like the like reconciliation for things like voting rights, or things like DC statehood should not be a filibusterable thing. It should be an up and down vote. It is as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So, the filibuster needs to change. So here's Kirsten Sinema talking about this. So let's see what she's.
Well, as folks in Arizona know, I've long been a supporter of the filibuster because it is a tool that protects the democracy of our nation rather than allowing our country to ricochet wildly every 2 to 4 years back and forth between policies. The idea of the filibuster was created by those who came before us, the United States Senate, to create comity and to encourage senators to find bipartisanship and work.
This is not how the filibuster was created. This is not what it did. The filibuster has not increased the bipartisanship. The filibuster was used directly for stopping civil rights legislation in its past. That's exactly what it was. This idea that we're not careening rapidly back and forth from administration is what's happening anyway. The only reason there was no more policies that Trump pushed that were, the only reason that the policies that Trump wanted didn't actually happen more during the first 2 years was because, first, Trump had no idea how to outline a policy and push for anything other than just a bumper sticker. The second is that the Republicans didn't actually want to do anything. The only thing Senate Republicans, at least under Mitch McConnell, stand for is tax cuts for the wealthy and judges. And they already can do both of those without the filibuster. So the filibuster, all it does is protect the minority's ability to the minority's ability to stop any progress. So from that, she is wrong.
And while there are some who don't believe that bipartisanship is possible, I think that I'm a daily example that bipartisanship is possible. Not just this trip today and tomorrow that John and I are doing, but the work that John and I and many other of my colleagues in both parties do on a regular basis. So to those who say we must make a choice between the filibuster and X, I say this is a false choice. The reality is that when you have a system that's not working effectively, and I would think that most would agree that the Senate's not a particularly well-oiled machine, right? The way to fix that is to change your behavior.
Okay, so the problem with this, this statement that we have to change the behavior, not the system, is because the people who have this behavior haven't changed. If anything, they've become more entrenched. This idea that you can just not pass anything under a previous administration is good for you because you're going to hurt the previous administration and say, oh, look, they couldn't do anything. We'll do these things for the American people. So she's just wrong about this. This idea that the American people that the Senate is going to function in a way that is better by having the filibuster is just not historical. We live in a different time than when the filibuster was first introduced. We live in a different time than when the filibuster was used for the purpose it was designed for, and we live in a different time than where there's not a possibility for bipartisanship. If we are going to talk, let's just take the infrastructure bill. If the Republican argument is that we don't like all the Green New Deal stuff, and we don't like the things that will help women and research and like the green stuff and the human infrastructure that the Biden administration has called it. But we like all the other stuff. The reasonable bipartisan approach to that would be we're going to take all of that money and we're going to put it into roads and bridges and other things. Instead of we're going to chop everything to the bare bones. We're going to only give you $200 billion for your program. We're going to take the rest of the money from COVID money that hasn't been spent, which is earmarked for hospitals and schools and businesses, and we're going to spend that. And then we're going to make the $200 billion up by taxing the poor. The fact that the Biden administration's most recent response to that has been, okay, let's put instead of raising taxes slightly, because this would still have been a tax cut for, it still would have been a tax cut for the wealthiest had he raised it to 28% or potentially 25%. We're going to raise the floor so everyone has to pay at least a minimum of 15%. And then we're going to close the loopholes. Look, I'm all for the global, the universal 15% floor. I'm also for closing the loopholes. But you can couple that with a raised tax with the increase in taxes. Because it used to be that the corporate tax rate and the marginal tax rate used to be 92%. So this is not a hard thing for them to push for. There is no bipartisanship that's going to come from this. Kyrsten Sinema has pretty much burned any bridge she has as running as a Republican in Arizona, or as running as a Democrat. She is absolutely going to get primaried if she doesn't switch to the Republican Party first.
Not to eliminate the rules or change the rules, but to change your behavior. So I'm going to continue to go to work every day, aggressively seeking bipartisanship in a cheerful and happy warrior way, as I always do, and showing that when we work together, we can get things done.
A lot of folks say that the filibuster is a relic of the Jim Crow era, and my sense is you don't support those things from the Jim Crow era, so why would you support the filibuster?
Well, the filibuster was not created as a tool to accomplish one thing or another. It was created as a tool to bring together members of different parties to find compromise and coalition. And when you think about our founding fathers, when they created the Senate,
I'm not commenting on his. I'm Chip's a great. I'm not commenting on that.
senators from every state, regardless of population size, with elections staggered every 6 years, so that only a third of the body is up for election each cycle. It was designed to be a place where you cooled the passions of the House, where you work together to find that compromise, and importantly, where you protect the rights of the minority from the majority.
Look, she's living like she's acting like the 2000, like the Obama administration didn't happen. First off, the other thing is the question about the founding fathers. The filibuster is not part of the Constitution. Laws are just that made the filibuster. You can't tell me that you can't tell me that she really believes there's going to be some type of bipartisanship in any way after we saw what happened in the Obama administration, after we just saw what happened at the American Rescue Plan. At some point, when somebody keeps punching you in the face and then stab you in the back, you have to stop expecting them to stop punching you in the face and stabbing you in the back. So let's look at this article. Kristen Sinema, we asked Kristen for one example where the filibuster created a bipartisan committee. It has never happened. So this is the other thing. Cornyn voted against the filibuster voted for the filibuster to stop the commission for January 6th. The other thing is, like I said, look, I can't deal with her. I can't deal with her, and I can't deal with Manchin. So we're done with this here. So, look, the filibuster needs to what? I don't know what you guys are talking about, but relax. So look, here's the link to the Discord. Let's see what we go over. The Fauci stuff, as much as I've read about a third of it. And I will repeat this over and over again. If you want to know, what are you saying? I'm not dealing with this stuff. That's a warning, brother. I'm not dealing with this type of weirdness. Look, the filibuster needs to go. For at least the idea that elections should matter. What is happening here? For at least the idea that elections should matter, the filibuster cannot exist. Because even what is the point of having the majority if the minority can just dictate what you do? That's not how the democracy is supposed to work. That's not how the democracy is supposed to exist. So, what did we see today? The Fauci emails are pretty much everything that's against them is just a lack of reading comprehension. It is worth mentioning that, yes, getting rid of gerrymandering as well. So, how do we do that? Well, HR1, SR1, the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So, what it does is it allows for universal. Now this is someone who's arguing with me that it would only be Democrats. It allows for automatic voter registration when you turn 18. It calls for third-party, nonpartisan groups to do the gerrymandering, to redraw districts. So if you're opposed to that, at least the gerrymandering part, well then what you're saying is my ideas can't win, and I have to pick my voters. if you have to, exactly. So why not have a third party, non-biased group set the actual group, set the district, so we don't have all the weird ones. Who's the what is it? Isn't Jim Jordan's like a pterodactyl type looking thing? It's just insane. There's no reason to have gerrymandering. And the answer to it cannot be what the Supreme Court said, which is, the way to beat gerrymandering is you just win at a gerrymandered district and ungerrymandered. Look, brother, I don't understand. Maybe you don't understand what gerrymandering is. So I'm going to draw a picture. All right? It's going to be a bad picture. I'm not that good at drawing. You have a square. See? Square. Okay? And we're going to cross this square up. It's going to have this square is drawn relatively evenly. There's the same number, right? So let's say half of them actually, I think I need one more row. Let's make it an actual even number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's say half of the districts are Republican and half of the districts are Democrat. If you have a district like this, if this is a state, you would expect to have 9 Democrats and 9 Republicans. However, if you gerrymander and you take out all the Republican ones, you could draw a map where the Republicans look. The party that is getting run over is currently the majority party in the federal government. They're the ones who are getting run over. This is not crazy. If you have the majority of votes, which they have because they're more populous states, so they generally have the more will of the people. That's how you judge who's exactly the minority. This is not how a democracy. No, we have a small minority controlling the majority. The Republican, this idea of the silent majority, has never been either silent or the majority. This idea of the silent majority is why we have a problem. This idea that the will of the people, look, even all the things that Biden has proposed are somewhere between 65 and 70% approval rating across the country, depending on what you're looking at. There's obviously some things that are outliers, like universal background checks have a 97% approval rating. And then there's things like his $15 minimum wage, which we will never get under Joe Biden. These are things that are popular among the American people. The fact that a smaller minority of even the Republicans who are in power right now in the Senate are going against the will of their own voters. It's not even liberals. It's the people who consider themselves independents outnumber the conservatives. They agree more with these policies. So the idea is we have to make sure that our democracy includes more people. There is no way to decide that a country that is supposed to that is a country that is supposed to allow the voice of everyone to vote, to have everyone to have a say, should limit the ability to access. Look, We as a country already fail at the amount of people who are engaged in voting. It is very rare that we hit anywhere close to 50%. No, you're wrong. Really, you're wrong. As of right now, the more the country is being fucked by a small... So the current Republican Party, as it stands in the federal government, at least for the... Actually, on the state level, because they're further right-wing than the... They're further right-wing than the federal government ones. They're the ones pushing it. If you look at ideas that are being pushed by the Republicans at the state level, they have no popular support. Do you know what the universal polling on banning abortion is? It's like 20%. The polling on banning trans people, even Republicans don't support that, of banning trans people from sports. But Ron DeSantis, we're 4 days into Pride Month. Day one, ban trans people from sports. I have a video on this. Go to Fresh Faces New Ideas, the YouTube page, and you can see me talking about that. I don't remember the name of the video, but it's one of the Florida ones. There's like 13 trans athletes since like 2005 across the state, but they're a danger to women. They destroy the integrity of women's sports. It's bullshit. The other thing he did was, I don't remember how many of you remember this, but there was a massive shooting in Florida. Not opposed to the current shootings in Florida that happen daily, as they do across the country, called the Pulse nightclub. And from the Pulse nightclub shooters, they were promised health care to deal with what happened there. Ron DeSantis just denied them health care on the second day. This is not complicated. The filibuster, you cannot point to as a thing of bipartisan support because it does not exist. This idea that so look, I do agree with you. It would be better to have more than two parties. Yeah, Riddler's not American. People at the Groundhog. The idea that we only have two parties is could be conceived as a problem. What we probably should do is move to a more parliamentary system, or pass the or don't pass the vote. What just happened? What we should do is what is it called? Ranked choice voting. That would help. But look, if there is an idea, a possible. Thank you, people of the Groundhog, for following. Okay, but that doesn't make sense. If you are in a democracy where it's giving the people the say in the process, and a majority of the people say they want one thing, why would you give it to the minority? Look, the truth is the Republicans, as they currently stand, don't have any policies that the American people want. So they're not running on policies. They're running on grievances, and they're going to make it more difficult to vote. It is a very simple and obvious solution. You expand the vote. This idea that if you look into the Georgia bills, right, but we don't have that parliamentary system. It's just not going to be a way that it works in America. If there is any proof that a third party could not exist in America, it was during this election. I don't know how aware you were of the Twitter sphere, but these third party these third parties were pushing for their candidates. And you know what? They didn't get anything. We had historic voter turnout, and they could not break the 5% threshold. We're not going to have a third party in America. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. We will not have a we will not have a functioning third party unless Donald Trump decides to create his own party, in which case it will crack the Republican Party in half, and I'm for that. And the reason I'm for that is I think with a broken Republican Party, the Democratic Party can actually move to the left like it should. The Libertarian but who was the Libertarian candidate? What percentage of the vote did they get? Like 0.5%, 2% maybe? Don't they need they need 5% to get national funding, correct? If it wasn't Justin Amash, was Justin Amash who was the Libertarian candidate? Like the third party, you can't, as it stands, it's just not feasible to have a third party in the way our system is designed. It just, especially in the way our country is polarized. And I think part of this has to come down to, and I said this in my messaging video, we have to message better. People like me have to be made louder. So more you need to subscribe who aren't following me so I can become louder. Did they buy Gary? Gary Johnson was a wacky person. They were all wacky. The goal has to be is to shift the way things are presented. And I think we're seeing that partly in the media. The problem is the media has spent so long playing things 50-50 or not being accurate with their reporting, especially during COVID, which it does appear that they helped cover up, the lab leak stuff. It has hurt them. It also is a problem that one party actually gets mad at reporters for reporting on them. So we need to build up a media system that is trusted and tells you the truth as it is. Okay, but look, then what is the point of giving the weight to the citizens if what is the point of giving the weight to the citizens if you're just going to ignore it? You might as well not have their voices heard. A monarch can give weight to the voice of the citizens, but it's irrelevant. But there's no, so the answer can't be just let the minority rule because we're not going to get a third party. And if anything, I think it gives a larger voice to the people because I imagine if you have multiple groups, then elections are weird because if you look at Israel had a long time with the same ruler because the same leader because they couldn't build a consensus government. You have a whole bunch of snap elections all the time. So our system isn't perfect, but it could be made better by removing the filibuster. That would be a massive step forward. It would allow for way more people to have their voices heard. It would allow for the government to actually function because right now our government cannot function. The only things that can pass through Congress and through the Senate are reconciliation bills, the omnibus spending bills at the end of the year, and basically raising the debt ceiling. That's it. We're not getting climate change legislation. We're not getting gun control legislation. We're not getting increased quality legislation. We're not getting voter right legislation. We're not getting any of that. It is impossible with the system that we have unless there is some massive freak wave where a president somehow has control of the presidency, the Congress, and the Senate. And they have somewhere between 58 to 62 seats. And that's just not going to happen. The fact that the Democratic senators did not do the D-CCC did not do a better job of pushing for their candidates, and this wasn't a landslide for the Democrats, is just very telling about the candidates they won. Amy McGrath was a disaster. The fact that Jamie Harrison got his ass kicked by Lindsey Graham is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Lindsey Graham spent the last 2 weeks of his campaign both saying racist shit and begging for money. And we could not beat him. Those are problems. You have to run better candidates. You have to run things that the people care about. But most importantly, when you get into power, you have to show the American people that you know how to do the things that you are sent there to do. There is no point in electing people who aren't going to do the things you want. Exactly. Well, first off, Amy McGrath, I don't know if you watched any of her campaign, but I'm pretty sure running as a Democrat and saying I'm going to work with Trump more than Mitch McConnell is not a good strategy. Because, look, the goal has to be to reach out to these people who are disenfranchised, not even disenfranchised, just lied to by their political parties. Because if you look at the red states, West Virginia, Kentucky, Missouri, they are among the poorest and least educated in the country. And why is that? Because Republicans have run their states into the ground. So you have to give them a better alternative. And obviously, look, you're going to lose the evangelicals. You're going to lose the single vote abortion people. And look, I'm sorry, Ben. I don't understand it. The Bible does not say that. It doesn't talk about that. If you read the Bible, because it says that if you think your wife has cheated on you, you should induce you should give her a pill or poison her so that she has an abortion. It's in the Bible. And they're going to fearmonger about guns forever. Anything that looks like some type of gun control is instantly they're coming to take your guns away. It doesn't matter how many fucking people die. We have a mass shooting every single day in America. We have had more than there are days in the year. The fact that fucking children were killed in Sandy Hook and we didn't do dick about it tells you all you need to know. There will never be gun control in this country unless we change how things are done. So at the very least, if you do not, this is the easiest pitch. For if somehow somebody in West Virginia or Arizona sees this, and somebody clip this and send it out so I can get some of these people in Arizona, West Virginia. This pitch is simple. There will be a mass shooting near you, whether it's at a school, whether it is at your work, whether it is in a mall, whether it is in a store. It doesn't matter. There will be a mass shooting in your area if there already hasn't been. So at the very least, if you do not want to have daily mass shootings in this country, and you want something done about this, that will actually stop it, because it hasn't gotten better by having things haven't gotten better. They've gotten worse over time. So having more guns is not the answer. If you're advocating for just the basic idea that you should be able to walk down the street without getting shot, call your senator and tell them to get rid of the filibuster. If you think your vote should count, call your senator and have them get rid of the filibuster. If you think trans people should have the same rights and not be discriminated and fired for being trans, call your senator to have them get rid of the filibuster. If you think our children should live in a world that is scorched by climate change to basically be uninhabitable, or dealing with unbelievable climate shifts with massive hurricanes and droughts, and dealing with the mass refugee crisis that's going to come from it, and the lack of food that's going to come from it, and the lack of water that's going to come from it, call your senator and tell them to get rid of the filibuster. If you don't give a shit about any of this, fuck you. It's very simple. We are at a tenuous time, not only in the face of our democracy, but in the face... No, it's not moral superiority. Look, I'm not that old. I'm not that old. But I would like to raise my kids in a better world. And this is how we do it. We have to push for changing the ways. I'm going to be honest with this. My generation, I'm considered a millennial, gets a lot of shit for things that we didn't really have control over. Oh, you guys are all spoiled because everyone gave us participation trophies. Who the fuck did that? You did it. The generation before us gave us the participation trophies. Oh, you guys are so woke because you want people to be called by their same names. Yeah, why not? It takes no skin off your back to call somebody what they want to be called. Or to have gay people to have rights. Right, but right now, we're the people who are trying to make the better world. We're at the age where we have the power to start doing this. The people in charge currently are old as fuck, and they're from a different generation, and they're getting in the way of when things need to be done. We don't have the time to wait till our 50s and 60s for this to get done. We have to start working on these problems now. A lot of the issues that are facing America today were built by the previous generation. And it's time for this generation to demand that the current people in power, whether they are my generation, people like AOC, or unfortunately people like Madison Cawthorn, to push for things that will make it better for us. Things are going to get worse before they get better. This is around the world. You see the rise in authoritarianism. You see it here too. We have to show. I don't want the world to reward me. I want the previous generation to not fuck up the air and the water more than they already have, so that I have a chance to actually do something. I want to give my kids a chance to live. I don't want them to have to deal with massive climate issues. There are issues that we need to start working on now. If you don't care about kids getting shot in the street, how about do you care for the people who are going to be put out of work because they can't afford a house, because their house is underwater? There's a lot of things going on. The only way to bring any type of change is to remove the filibuster. Whether it ultimately backfires on us, I don't know. I don't think so. I believe, and I truly believe this, that the policies that we are pushing for that are being blocked by the filibuster would overwhelm the American people's ability to realize that these things are possible. There's policies that the American people want, and once they get them, they'll vote for the party that wants them. A great example of this, Ben Shapiro just put out a video about how unions are bad, and all of his fans were like, "Fuck you, no." There are policies that people have been lied to for a long time about, and if we remove the filibuster, we can actually push for them. And by pushing for them, okay, but we're not worried about policies 100 years down the line. 2050 is 30 years down the line. We need to start working on it now. There are issues that we can start solving now. And then, it's someone else's problem is not a good way to do this, especially if you're in charge. There's no point being short-sighted. If you're watching this and you're okay with the system that does not work, where the only things that will go through are not going to help you, they're only going to help the rich and the powerful, then let's keep this system. You're going to see a lot of talk. You'll see it from both parties. What is the action? If you see a Republican take credit for something that came out of the American Rescue Plan, as many of them have, know that they didn't want you to have that. It's as simple as that. This is not a hard policy. The Democrats need to be better at messaging. Until then, we will be dealing with crazy issues. And so why don't we start trying to deal with it now? The answers to a lot of these things are, we need better messaging. So, Spread It Forward, I know you asked me yesterday what type of stuff do I want to be part of. I just want to be as part of as many people to get eyes on that I can talk to. I don't know if I'm going to change many people's minds, but I'm going to try. If I can knock down a ridiculous argument along the way, it's fine. If there's panels for that, I want to be part of the panels. If there's debates to be had, I will debate them. I want to be larger than I am now because I think that I can help people. I think that the things that I believe are better for the American people and for the world. And that's it. Look, let's just push this for what I want for. Okay, but the power we basically avoided a authoritarian power grab by like the skin of our teeth, and it is now being undermined further. So it's not inaccurate. So let's recap how things are going to go for the next week. Well, partly was to get more eyes. I would love for, because it's very simple. Part of the thing, and I said this yesterday for Spread It Forward, is a lot of the issues is basically, I'm not virtue seeking. I believe in all these things. I want people to see. That's why I read it on camera. That's why I've put the link in there. You should be aware of these things. It's very simple. The things, and I've gone through. I pulled up all the things that they're complaining about. And I've explained why I think they're wrong. And I think I'm pretty. Look, and I've said this over and over again. If you have, let me put this in the chat. If you have information in these emails, and I have been very clear about this, that I have not read them all, and I'm going to. It's going to take me a little while. There's a lot of them, but I'm going to read them all, and you will not get that from everybody else. I don't know how many actual people on Twitch or talking heads are actually going to read all of the emails, but I'm going to. If you join the Discord or put the information on the chat here, if there's something you want to talk about, I will talk about it. Unless it's flat earth, because at this point it's too stupid a conversation to deal with. But other than that, I will have a conversation about it. Part of this is I'm so small now that I can have this conversation with all of you. Okay, but I'm clearly not saying that. If you actually have looked into the two conversations I've had, one of them, basically, we didn't agree on anything. And that was a long, winding conversation that went to whole different places. And the other one, I'm not sure we got anything productive done in there. If you've seen me, so I believe I'm going to be on a debate panel on Sunday. Yeah, but that's clearly not what anything I've said. I actually do want this. Somehow my stream has ended up more conservative than anything. Okay, so I can put more of this. Well, right now there's nothing on the screen. I think hold on, let me check my bio and stuff. New day, new stream. Okay, cool. Hold on. Look, I can do another thing on the filibuster. Political streaming, yeah, I can put more into the bio. Yeah, no flat earthers. That is too stupid to debate with. And yes, so here's the other thing. People have come in and said, "Oh, I don't want to get banned right away." I'm not going to ban you for having disagreeing views with me. I will ban you if you're inciting violence or you're being incredibly outrightly racist or anti-Semitic type stuff. That's how you will get banned from my community. Yeah, look, I've already banned people here before. I will make the judgments that are fair. And look, if they're going to come on and actually debate some of these things, I will do that. I will debate some topics. Obviously, we're not going to debate like eugenics or the things. Because look, this is the beauty of it. Because we're small now, I will happily have conversations with all of you guys. Somehow this, like, I'm gonna be honest. Prior to yesterday, I've had like maybe one like left-leaning person actually on, and it was because I found him on a panel, and we might have a discussion with that. I'm actually in this Discord. We'll see about that. But other than that, like, I'm going to talk. New Era Socialist was actually on a couple days ago, and I think he was on last week. I was actually in his stream, and I was talking to him. So, and then for the actual guest who was on, hold on, let me just look at who my followers are very quickly. Let's see if I can figure out who it was. Community follower list. Diet Suckdem was in there. I think I'm Not Boosted was pretty even. But it's a lot of like different people. I'm not like super huge yet, so we're still growing. But yeah, no, I actually had an interesting debate with listen, I don't really hate people. Actually, it's not true. I hate stupid people. There's too much access to information out there to be ignorant. So that's why a lot of what I do is try to base it on facts. Then I'll put the data in front of you that I'm looking at. So we can talk about, we'll see about next week, talk about the filibuster in general and about it. But right now, I think I've done a good job. I did not expect to go on the rant that I did at the end. So for the future, Monday, guys. So as it stands right now, if you should all go to the Discord, or you should follow me on Twitter at Faces Ideas, because I think I'm going to be in a debate stream for the Hippy Dippy on Sunday at 1 p.m. EST. So I will have more information on that when I get more information, and then Monday I'm going to be later. I have some stuff to take care of in the morning. So Monday I will probably start around like 2:33 ish. But that's the plan for Monday. But I will put it in the Discord, and I will put it on Twitter. So if you actually are not following me, which you should be. Oh, DFK, you're back. What up, buddy? I'm pretty much done now. We're not having the Bruce Willis debate. If you're not following me, and you should be, you should at least you should. Okay, well, look, I know those people, and I was kind of talking to one of them yesterday. Look, if you don't want to have my chat associated with you, I don't think I have a toxic community. I think if you're scared to, there's a difference to that. So if you don't want to have conservatives, I understand that. I do understand the philosophy that you don't want their ideologies to get into your chat. I don't agree with that, and that's fine. But in that case, we'll just go on a debate panel. But like I said, I will have conversations with pretty much anyone. I don't think it's the right. I think it's easy if. Yes. So if you want to send me a message either on the Discord. No, I have not. If you want to send me a message on the Discord or through the chat through Twitch, like a direct message through Twitch. It depends on what you're watching, Nate. So Spreaderphone, if you want to send me a Discord message or the through Twitch, because I'm going to get off because I have some stuff that I need to do, and we can talk about it. But I think next week I'm going to be, I think I'm going to be pretty busy because so next week I do know for a fact I'm going to be on a basketball panel. We're going to one of my college friends has a panel called the Productive Conversations. We're going to be talking about basketball. I think that's going to be Wednesday, but it might be at like 12 o'clock at night on Wednesday. So as I get information on what panels and stuff I will be on, I will let everybody know because I want you guys to hear. Oh, the other thing is, yeah, I do play. The other thing is, I'm super bad with this technology. So when I'm on the panels, I don't always do a great job of making the screens so that you can see everybody. So it depends on what works, but I will attempt to do that. So I'm going to have to talk to the basketball one about whether he wants me streaming this or not. If not, I will give you guys access to the link. But the Hippy Dippy should be Sunday, and then no, the ruler I think is Dutch. He said, and then the other one I haven't gotten a date and information, but that's the crowdsourced politics is the other person I'm talking. But yeah, so spread it forward. We could talk offline, but till then, I will be back Sunday maybe or Monday, but I will be back soon, guys. I will keep you guys informed of everything that I'm doing. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And I'll see you this Sunday or Monday. So till then, guys, so long.